The busy waiting area of Horizon Field Airport bustled with activity on a chilly, drizzly morning. Announcements echoed through the terminal, urging passengers to double-check their gates and keep personal items secure. Travelers from all walks of life shuffled between chairs and vending machines, waiting for delayed flights. At Gate B12, a diverse crowd gathered, some groaning at updates of a postponed flight to Phoenix. Among them was Rachel Tanner, a polished marketing executive in her mid-30s. Dressed in a sharp navy blazer and matching heels, Rachel's demeanor was one of impatience. Her perfectly styled auburn hair complemented her no-nonsense expression as she scrolled through emails on her phone, glancing at the time every few seconds. She was en route to a pivotal business meeting, eager to solidify her reputation as a rising star in the corporate world. When the boarding announcement for first-class passengers finally came, Rachel sprang to her feet and strode briskly toward the jet bridge, her designer tote swinging at her side. She felt relief wash over her. At least she'd have a comfortable seat to escape the chaos. Inside the aircraft, Rachel slid into seat 1C, appreciating the wide, cushioned seats and attentive cabin crew. She placed her bag neatly in the overhead compartment, sat down, and pulled out her tablet to review presentation slides. She was determined to ignore everything around her until they landed. A few minutes later, a tall man in his late 20s, dressed sharply in a military uniform, entered the cabin. His name tag read J. Carter, and he carried a small duffel bag. He glanced at his ticket and located seat 1D, right next to Rachel. With a polite nod, he slid into his seat. Rachel's eyes briefly darted to him, her expression unreadable. Internally, however, a pang of judgment arose. A soldier in first class? She thought. Probably a complimentary seat or some kind of upgrade. She masked her thoughts with a practiced smile and went back to her tablet, feigning indifference. As the cabin prepared for takeoff, a flight attendant approached the soldier. "Thank you for your service, sir," she said warmly. "If you need anything during the flight, just let us know." "Thank you, ma'am," Carter replied with a nod, his voice calm and respectful. Rachel's lips tightened slightly. The overt gratitude annoyed her in a way she couldn't articulate. She convinced herself it was irritation at the disruption, though deeper down, it was an unspoken bias she refused to confront. She shifted in her seat, pretending to be engrossed in her slides. Shortly after takeoff, Carter reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photograph. Rachel caught a glimpse of it, a young girl with curly hair and a radiant smile. She was holding a handmade sign that read, "Welcome home, Daddy," in bright crayon colors. Unable to suppress her curiosity, Rachel spoke up. "Your daughter?" she asked, her tone neutral. Carter looked up, slightly surprised. "Yes," he said, his expression softening. "Her name's Lily." Rachel forced a polite nod. "Cute. Visiting her on leave?" "Actually, I'm on my way to see her after completing my deployment," Carter replied. "She's been waiting for this day for a while." Rachel sensed the genuine emotion behind his words, but chose to interpret his presence differently. "Must be nice to fly first class," she said, her tone a little too sharp to be casual. "Did they upgrade you for free?" Carter's expression remained calm, though his voice carried a hint of firmness. "No, ma'am. I paid for this seat myself. Every penny." Her cheeks flushed slightly, though she didn't let it show. "Oh," she said, retreating behind her tablet with an air of disinterest. She avoided looking at him for the rest of the flight, but her thoughts lingered on their exchange, quietly unsettled. The next morning, Rachel sipped her coffee and glanced at her phone's news feed. A headline caught her attention. "Decorated Army officer surprises daughter after lengthy deployment." She clicked the link and froze as she watched a video of Carter reuniting with his daughter at the Atlanta airport. The little girl sprinted into his arms, tears streaming down her face as she clung to him tightly. The article detailed his years of service and his dedication to family, describing Carter as a hero. A knot of guilt twisted in Rachel's chest as she remembered her assumptions. She realized, too late, how deeply wrong she had been. For the first time in years, Rachel sat quietly, reflecting on her actions. Sometimes, she thought, understanding begins with a hard look at yourself. Mid-flight, the cabin lights dimmed as attendants served lunch, chicken or vegetarian pasta with a roll and salad. Rachel sipped Sauvignon Blanc, hoping it would ease her simmering irritation. She glanced at Carter, who politely declined wine, accepting water and his tray. The attendant thanked him for his service, adding that his drinks were complimentary. Rachel couldn't hold back. "Doesn't it get old?" she asked sharply. "People constantly fawning over you because you wear a uniform?" Carter looked up, his expression measured. "I appreciate their kindness," he replied evenly, "but I don't ask for special treatment." "Kindness?" Rachel scoffed. "Seems more like overcompensation. Some of us work just as hard and don't get free perks." Carter set his fork down. "Ma'am, if it's an issue, I'll pay for my own meal. I'm just trying to get to my daughter. She's in the hospital." Rachel faltered briefly, sensing the pain in his words. Still, she deflected. "Well, I hope it works out for you," she said coolly, turning back to her meal. When the plane landed in Atlanta, Rachel overheard Carter on the phone. "I'll head straight to the hospital," he said. The urgency in his voice unsettled her, but she pushed the thought away, focusing instead on her plans for the day. Later, a news alert caught Rachel's eye. Local soldier's daughter battles rare condition. The image of Carter's daughter, smiling faintly from a hospital bed, stopped her cold. The article revealed her need for urgent surgery, partially uncovered by insurance, and described Carter's fundraising efforts. Shame washed over Rachel as she remembered her dismissive remarks. For the first time, she questioned her assumptions and the person she had become. Rachel sat in her hotel room that evening, the city lights of Atlanta twinkling beyond the window. Her laptop lay open on the desk, but the spreadsheet she'd been editing felt meaningless. The image of Lily, hooked to machines yet smiling bravely, refused to leave her mind. It wasn't just the girl's situation that haunted her. It was the realization of her own blind arrogance. She thought of her words to Carter on the plane, the callousness behind her tone, the way she dismissed him as just another person seeking attention. He wasn't seeking attention. He was seeking hope. He was a father fighting for his child, and Rachel had judged him without understanding. Rachel's phone sat on the nightstand. Tentatively, she picked it up and reopened the fundraiser page linked in the article. The number was far from its goal. Without overthinking, she typed in a generous amount, one large enough to make her breath catch. When the confirmation appeared, she stared at it for a moment, her chest tight. It wasn't about the money. It was about making a choice to step outside the bubble she'd built around herself, to see people for who they truly were. The next day, Rachel gave her donation receipt to a journalist covering the story, requesting to remain anonymous. As she left the conference, she felt lighter. For once, success didn't feel like winning a competition. It felt like doing something that mattered. Rachel walked outside, the crisp air of Atlanta brushing against her face. For the first time in years, she felt something beyond professional ambition, an honest connection to the world around her. She didn't know if Carter would ever learn of her gesture, but that didn't matter. What mattered was the shift within her, a resolve to approach life with empathy, not judgment. It was only the beginning.